Hello everyone, I'm Rosphere, and in this video I'm going to talk about Classic Burning Crusade release date and my projections for that, and subsequently my reasonings behind that projection as well. So just jumping right in, I think that we're probably going to see a June 29th release date for Burning Crusade, and my reasons for that, starting with the initial release, or not the initial release, but the initial leak that we got of the TBC beta in mid-February, which ended up being wrong. TBC 2.0 pre-patch earmarked for April 13th to 14th ended up being wrong, and the TBC release date earmarked for May 4th. That's obviously going to be wrong because we haven't even got the pre-patch yet. It's not going to release without the pre-patch. So May 4th is not going to be the release. We do have some people that still think that May 4th is probably going to be the pre-patch, but I have doubts. I don't think that we're going to see that, and for one reason and one reason only. After this early data mining dates that we got another data mine saying that Burning Crusade transition default clone date with the date of May 18th attached to it. Now, if you look at that Burning Crusade transition default clone, to me that says that those are the classic servers having been cloned, right, from what they are into the TBC servers, because there's no way you can release the TBC pre-patch on the existing servers, right? Because if you're going to have these pristine classic servers that stay the way they are forever, you can't have the the pre-patch come out, because it changes a whole bunch of things that irreversibly change what classic actually is. One of those things being just PvP. The honor system's gone. Everybody can get honor or Grand Marshal gear. Everybody can get High Warlord gear with no rank, and so on and so forth. So I think that they're going to be changing, or not changing, but I think they have to release, obviously, the pre-patch on the TBC servers. You can't do it on the existing servers. So May 18th is the clone date for these servers that we've data mined. And that only makes sense to me because, again, May 18th is a Tuesday, right? So if May 18th is the pre-patch date, we're probably looking at a minimum of 6 weeks. It could be 4 weeks, but 4 weeks feels a little fast. But a minimum of 6 weeks for the pre-patch, right? And if it's the 4th, I'll go over this here too. So it could be the 4th, it could be the 11th, and it could be the 18th. I'm going to assume it's the 18th, right? So assuming it's the 18th, 6 weeks out from that is June 29th. Again, it could be only 4 weeks long, which would put us at a June 15th release for TBC. Or if it's the 4th, June 15th would be 6 weeks away from May 4th, putting us at, June 15th. And again, it could be 8 weeks long, which would put us at a June 29th release date again. So I'm just going to assume that May 18th, because that's the data mined date that we have for the transition. May 18th is the release for the pre-patch. 6 weeks later, the 29th puts us at the release date for Classic Burning Crusade. And that makes sense with a couple other things that Blizzard's doing currently with the PTR in 9.1, right? And we just recently, today in fact, had the interview with Ian Hazakostas and Preach, put up, where Ian basically has said that patch 9.1 is nowhere near ready. They still have a lot to do. COVID slowed this down. It makes sense that COVID and everybody transitioning from working at a place to then working at home. It puts a lot of stress on a team like that, and it's a big transition to make, so it's going to slow things down. So with that being said, if it comes out on June 29th, that gives us basically all of July into August, a week or two into August before we actually get 9.1. So it gives us plenty of time to play through the initial part of Classic Burning Crusade before we get 9.1, and we essentially get back on the treadmill of content that Blizzard is wanting to put out with Classic WoW and retail combined, right? So it kind of works out that way. It's really solid, and it also goes along with what some of the Blizzard devs have said, that late July, mid to late July would be optimistic for the release of Shadowlands 9.1. August is more likely, right? So it goes along with that perfectly as well. So if, for example, and I know Blizzard's done this before, where, just recently we had Nax and Shadowlands overlap pretty heavily. They probably don't want to do that very often because that hurts both communities, both classic and retail communities, right? So they're probably going to end up spacing things out like they had been previously up to that point. And it also, like worst case scenario, for example, let's say that we don't get the pre-patch by the 18th of May. If we don't get it by May 18th, and we don't get it very, very shortly after that, say June 1st or June 8th, we're probably looking at a much longer release date for Classic Burning Crusade, because they're not going to want to overlap that again with the release of 9.1, because that hurts 9.1 and it hurts Classic at the same time. So yeah, like if that happens, if we don't get it by the 18th, we're probably not going to get it anytime soon because they don't want to overlap them. So let's say we get the August release date of, say, August 3rd is the release for 9.1 in Shadowlands. We probably would get, if they haven't released it by the 18th, July 13th to July 20th would be the pre-patch for TBC. Give people plenty of time to play that. And then we would see the August 3rd release date of 9.1. And we'd probably go through the rest of August. And then, this September 7th could be the release date for TBC. That's obviously, in my opinion, worst case scenario. I don't think that's actually what's going to happen. Again, I think that the release for pre-patch of May 18th, 6 weeks later, June 29th, gives us a whole month to play through Classic Burning Crusade, and then 9.1. That's just, to me, that makes the most sense. I think that's probably what we're going to end up seeing. And it also lines up with the release timeline. And when I say timeline, the initial timeline of TBC beta mid-February, pre-patch April 13th. It lines up with the existing timeline of kind of what we're seeing, just moved back a few months, right? Like delayed a few months. So we're seeing that same timeline just a few months later happening, and that makes sense for May 18th being the release for the pre-patch. Yeah, so yeah, with all that being said, June 29th, I think that's when people should plan for. I don't know, don't take work off, obviously, just because I said so, but honestly, I think that's the safest bet currently. So with that being said, if you like the video, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.